Hello, my dear friend. Welcome to the VUS Learning English podcast. My name is Anna, and I am so happy you are here with me today. If this is your first time listening, welcome. I am very happy to meet you. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. It is wonderful to have you in our little family again. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with me. I am truly grateful. Today, we are going to talk about something very important. It is a feeling that many English learners have. Maybe you have this feeling too. It is the feeling of being stuck. You learn and you learn, but you feel like you are not moving. You are not improving. This is a very common feeling. And today, we will talk about why it happens. And we will talk about how to break free. We will find a new path forward together. If you enjoy our time together, please think about subscribing or following the podcast. It is a small click for you, but it helps our podcast grow. It helps us reach more English learners just like you. I always love to know where you are listening from. Are you in Nepal or Taiwan or Algeria or Zambia? Please tell me in the comments. It makes me so happy to see our family all over the world. Okay, are you ready? Let's begin. I want you to think about something. Do you ever feel like you understand English very well? Maybe you are watching a show on Netflix and you understand the story. You understand the jokes. It feels good. Or maybe you are reading an article on the internet and you understand the ideas. You learned something new. That feels good too. But then, the moment you try to speak, your mind feels empty. It feels blank. You want to share an idea, a big, interesting idea. You want to tell a story to your friends, a funny story from your weekend. You want to speak with that natural, easy flow, the way you hear native speakers talk. But you hit a wall, a big, invisible wall. You start searching for words in your mind. Where is that word? I know it. Where did it go? You get confused with grammar. Should I say in or on? Did I use the past tense correctly? And then you feel a wave of frustration. It washes over you. It feels so heavy. You think about all the effort you put in, all the hours you study, all the books you read, and it feels like it is not working anymore. You are not a beginner. You know you are not a beginner. You can have a simple conversation. But you also know you are not fluent. There is a space in between. This space has a name. It is called the intermediate plateau. Intermediate means you are in the middle. Plateau is a word for a high, flat area of land. Imagine you are climbing a mountain and you get to a flat part. You are walking and walking, but you don't feel like you are going up anymore. That is a plateau. The intermediate plateau is the most frustrating place to be. It is the most difficult part of your language learning journey. Some studies show that many English learners get stuck here. A huge number of learners, they get stuck for months or even for years. They just stop making clear progress. But I am here today to tell you something very important. This is the most important thing to hear today. The plateau is not your final home. It is not a permanent destination. You do not have to live there forever. In this episode, I will not just give you a few small tips. I want to do more than that. I am going to show you the hidden reason you feel trapped. It is a dangerous reason. And this reason is not about your study books. It is about your feelings. It is about your psychology. Then I am going to give you a clear plan, an actionable plan, a plan you can start using today. This plan will help you break through that wall. It will help you start your journey to real, confident fluency. Are you ready for that? I think you are. So to break out of this trap, we first need to understand it. We need to see how the trap is built. What is the intermediate plateau really? In technical terms, it is a stage in your learning. It is usually around the B1 or B2 level. At this stage, the fast progress you made as a beginner, it just seems to disappear. It vanishes. Let's use our imagination. Think of learning a language like climbing a big mountain. When you start at the bottom of the mountain, every step is exciting. Every step brings a huge change. You can see new things all around you. You learn hello. You learn thank you. You learn how to order a coffee. In just a few weeks, you go from knowing zero English to having a basic conversation. The progress is so clear, you can touch it. It is tangible, and it feels amazing. You feel so smart. You feel like a genius. The world of English is opening up for you. It is a beautiful, exciting time. But then, as you climb higher up the mountain, the path gets more difficult. It gets steeper. The air gets thinner. It is harder to breathe. The beautiful views are not as frequent. They are few and far between. You are still climbing. You are still putting in the work. Every day, you take a few more steps. But when you look up, the top of the mountain, the summit, it does not look any closer. That is the intermediate plateau. Your progress has not really stopped. This is very important to know. You are still moving forward, but your progress is now very slow. It is very subtle. It is so slow that it feels like you have stopped. The easy wins are gone now. You have already learned the most common words. You have learned the most important grammar rules. Now, the knowledge you need is different. It is more abstract. It is about small details. It is more nuanced. And honestly, there is just so much more of it. A lot more of it. This is a very important moment in your journey. This is a critical moment. Because this is where the frustration starts to grow. It starts to feel like a fire in your chest. This is where doubt comes into your mind. Doubt is a little voice that says, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I cannot do this. And this is where most people give up. It is very sad, but it is true. They stop climbing. They decide to live with good enough English. So, how do you know if you are on the plateau? How can you be sure? There are a few classic signs. Let's talk about them. Maybe you will recognize yourself. If you do, please know you are not alone. The first sign is the most common. It is that painful gap. The gap between what you can understand and what you can say. This means you can listen to a podcast like this one, or you can watch a movie, and you understand the main ideas. You get it. But when you try to share your own opinion about it, the words are not there. They are gone. Your mind is blank. It feels like all the English you have learned is locked away. It is locked in a big metal vault, and you have forgotten the combination to open it. This is maybe the most frustrating part of the plateau. You feel like a fluent listener, but you are trapped in the body of a hesitant speaker. It is a very strange and difficult feeling. The second sign is something called fossilization of errors. Fossilization is a big word. A fossil is a very old stone. It has been there for thousands of years. It is very hard to change. Fossilized errors are mistakes that have become like stones. They are the same mistakes you have been making for months, or maybe even for years. Maybe you always forget the little s for the third person. You say, he go to work, instead of, he goes to work. Even when you know the rule. Maybe you are always mixing up prepositions. Words like in, on, and at. These little words can be so tricky. Or maybe you have one pronunciation habit. One sound you just cannot seem to fix. You know the rule. You have studied it 100 times. But the error continues. It persists. Why? Because it has become a habit. An automatic, unconscious habit. Your brain is running on autopilot. You know, like a plane flying itself. And that autopilot program has mistakes in it. It is a very difficult thing to fix. The third sign is vocabulary stagnation. Stagnation means not moving, not growing. Like a pond with no fresh water, you find yourself using the same simple words over and over and over again. You say, very good, instead of excellent, or fantastic, or superb. You say, the problem is, instead of the challenge we are facing is, or the main obstacle is. Your English works. It gets the message across. People understand you, but it lacks color. It lacks personality. It is functional, but it is flat. This happens because you have found a group of words that are good enough. And your brain is very smart. It is always looking for the easy way. It wants to save energy. So your brain sees no urgent reason to learn new words. And the final sign is the most devastating, the most painful. It is a nosedive in your motivation. A nosedive is when a plane suddenly goes straight down. It is a very fast and scary drop. Your motivation can feel like that. When you feel like your hard work is going nowhere. When you feel like you are not improving, it is natural to feel discouraged. It is normal to lose hope. The joy of learning starts to fade away, and a feeling of obligation takes its place, a feeling of duty. Studying starts to feel like a chore, like washing the dishes or cleaning the house. It feels like running on a treadmill. You are sweating. You are working hard, but you are not actually going anywhere. You are staying in the same place. You start thinking bad thoughts. Thoughts like, maybe this is my limit. Maybe this is as good as it gets. Or you think, my English is fine for my job. It is good enough. So why should I try harder? This is the danger zone. This is a very dangerous place to be. Because once your motivation dies, progress becomes impossible. You cannot move forward without motivation. If you are nodding your head right now, if you are thinking, yes, that's me, that's how I feel, then you need to understand something very important. You are not alone. So many learners feel this way. This is not about your intelligence. You are smart. This is not about your ability to learn. You are a good learner. The plateau is a natural, predictable part of the journey. It is a normal stage. Almost every successful language learner has been on this plateau. I have been there. Every fluent speaker you know has been there. But the learners who reach fluency, they are the ones who do something different. They understand why the plateau happens, and they know what to do to get out of it. They do not set up a tent and build a camp on the plateau. They do not accept it as their final home. They find a way to start climbing again, and you can too. So, why does this happen? Why do we get so completely and totally stuck? Most people think the problem is about language. They think, I just need to learn more vocabulary words. Or they think, I just need to study more grammar rules. So they buy new books. They download more apps on their phone. They watch hours and hours of videos. But 6 months later, they are in the exact same spot. Nothing has changed. The frustration is still there. That is because the real reason for the plateau, the root of the problem, is not just about language. It is psychological. It is in your mind. The single most dangerous reason you are stuck is fear. Yes, fear. It sounds simple, but it is a very powerful poison. Specifically, it is the fear of making mistakes. Let me explain how this poison works. Think about when you were a beginner. You had nothing to lose. Every new word you said was a victory. It was a win. Nobody expected you to be perfect. Of course not. You were a beginner. In fact, people were usually very impressed. They were encouraging. They said, wow, your English is good. You were in a low-stakes environment. Low stakes means there is no big risk. Mistakes were not just okay. They were expected. They were proof that you were trying. They were a good thing. But as an intermediate learner, the game changes. Everything is different now. You have an identity to protect. You have a role to play. You are the person who speaks some English. You can communicate basic things. People at your job might rely on you. Your friends might ask you for help with English. You have a reputation, and you become terrified of damaging that reputation. This is where the fear of judgment comes in. Judgment is when you worry about what other people think of you. You start worrying all the time. What will they think if I make a mistake? Will they think I'm not smart? Will they laugh at my accent? Will they get angry waiting for me to find the right word? This anxiety creates a constant stress, a low-level stress that is always there when you speak. Your mind should be focused on one thing: communicating your idea, sharing your message. But now your mind is busy with another job. It is policing itself. It is trying to avoid errors at all costs. It is a security guard for your mouth. This fear starts a terrible chain reaction. It creates a vicious cycle, a circle that goes round and round, and this cycle locks you on the plateau. Let's look at the cycle, step by step. It begins with hesitation, because you are scared of saying something wrong. You pause, you wait, you overthink everything. You try to translate sentences in your head, word for word, from your native language. You check every grammar rule before you open your mouth. This is so slow. It is exhausting, and it is completely unnatural. Fluent speech is not built word by word. Fluent speakers do not do that. Fluent speech is built from chunks, from phrases and patterns that are automatic. By overanalyzing, you are stopping yourself from developing that natural speed. You are getting in your own way. Hesitation then leads to the next step: avoidance. Because speaking now feels stressful. It feels risky. You start to avoid it. You do this subconsciously. You don't even realize it. Imagine you are in a group conversation. Everyone is talking. You have an opinion. You want to say something, but the fear stops you, so you stay quiet. You just listen. Or at work, you need to talk to a colleague. You could make a phone call, but you choose to send an email instead. An email feels safer. You can check it for mistakes. You stick to the simple, familiar topics. You only talk about the weather or your weekend because you know you can do that without making mistakes. You have retreated into your comfort zone. But this comfort zone is not a safe house. It is a cage, a linguistic cage that you have built for yourself. Avoidance leads to the most critical stage, the most serious stage: stagnation. Remember, stagnation means not growing because you are avoiding any difficult conversation. You are not getting the practice you need, the very practice that would make you better. Language skills are like muscles in your body, especially speaking skills. If you do not use your muscles, they get weak. If you do not push your muscles past their limits, they do not grow. By staying in your comfort zone, you are doing the same easy exercise every day, like lifting a very light weight, and you are wondering why you are not getting stronger. And there is something worse happening. This lack of real-world practice allows your old mistakes to become permanent. They become fossilized. Without the pressure of a real conversation, without correction from others, those errors become a deep part of your speech. You are, in a way, practicing your mistakes. You are making them more automatic every single day. This stagnation then feeds the final stage of the cycle, a drop in confidence. You know you are not improving. You can feel it. You compare yourself to native speakers, or you compare yourself to other advanced learners, and you feel bad about yourself. You feel inadequate or even ashamed. You start to believe a story in your head. The story says, I am just not good at English. This is a very sad story to believe. Your self-esteem as a learner goes down, and this loss of confidence makes speaking even more scary. It makes it more terrifying, which makes you want to avoid it even more. It is a downward spiral. It pulls you down, down, down. And that brings us right back to the beginning of the cycle. With lower confidence, your fear of making mistakes gets even stronger. Your hesitation increases. Your avoidance becomes your normal way of being, and the cycle repeats. It spins faster and faster, pulling you deeper and deeper into the plateau. This is the dangerous reason you are stuck. It is so important to see this. It is not because you are lazy. It is not because you are not smart. It is because you are trapped in a psychological feedback loop. Let me say that again. You are trapped in a psychological feedback loop. The fear of not being good enough is the very thing that is stopping you from getting good enough. You have to break this cycle. You must break this cycle. And you do not break it by learning more words. You break it by changing your entire relationship with the English language. Now, this psychological trap of fear is supported by something else. It is supported by your old learning habits. Habits that are now out of date. The methods that helped you get to the intermediate level are not the same methods that will get you out of it. The game has changed, but you are still playing by the old rules. Let's talk about why your old methods do not work anymore. First, you are facing the vocabulary coverage problem. This sounds complicated, but it is a simple idea. Research shows that when you learn the first 1,000 most common words in English, you can understand about 75 to 80% of daily conversation. That is amazing. That is why being a beginner feels so good. Every new word has a huge impact. But to get from that 80% comprehension to 95% comprehension, you might need to learn another 4,000 or 5,000 words. The reward for your effort becomes much smaller. You have to work 5 times harder for a very small, tiny reward. You are still making progress, but it is so small that it feels like you are standing still. And this feeling just feeds your frustration. Second, you are probably a victim of the receptive-productive gap. Let's break that down. Receptive skills are listening and reading. You are receiving information. It is input. Productive skills are speaking and writing. You are producing language. It is output. Most traditional ways of learning focus too much on receptive skills. You listen to podcasts, you watch YouTube videos, you read news articles. This is all input. And input is very important. It is essential. but it is mostly passive. Input trains you to recognize the language, but fluency is not about recognition. Fluency is about production. Fluency is about pulling words out of your brain under pressure in a real conversation. Think about your last week. How many hours did you spend listening to or reading English? Now, how many hours did you spend actually speaking or writing in English? For most intermediate learners, the ratio is very unbalanced. It is something like 10 to 1, or even 20 to 1. 20 hours of listening for every 1 hour of speaking. You have become a professional consumer of English, but you are still an amateur producer. Imagine you're at the gym. You have trained one arm to be incredibly strong, but you have completely forgotten about the other arm. This imbalance is a big reason why you feel like you can understand everything, but you cannot say anything. Third is the powerful pull of your comfort zone. Your intermediate English is good enough for daily life. You can order food in a restaurant. You can ask for directions on the street. You can chat about your weekend with a friend. Because your current English is functional, it works. There is no immediate painful reason to improve. So your brain does what it is designed to do. It saves energy. It chooses the path of least resistance. The easiest path? It reuses the same simple words and grammar it already knows. It avoids complex sentences because simple sentences work just fine. Your brain has found a comfortable, cozy spot, and it will fight to stay there. But progress and comfort cannot live together. Progress, by its very definition, means leaving your comfort zone. Finally, let's talk a little more about those fossilized errors, those old, stony mistakes. They usually start when you learn a new rule, and you use it for everything. You overgeneralize the rule. For example, you learn the ed rule for the past tense. So you say, I feel happy instead of I felt happy. At first, it is just a small mistake, a slip up. But if nobody corrects you, and if you do not do focused practice to unlearn it, it becomes a habit. After saying field for a whole year, that mistake starts to sound correct to your own ear. It becomes an automatic part of your speech. At this point, it is not enough for someone to tell you it is wrong. The error has fossilized. It is turned to stone. It is a linguistic stone that you must deliberately, consciously break apart and replace it with the correct form. This takes focused, repetitive practice. Your old study methods, which focus on learning new things, are not designed to help you unlearn old, bad habits. So, do you see the picture now? You are stuck in a perfect storm. The fear of mistakes keeps you in your comfort zone. Your learning methods focus too much on passive skills. And the nature of learning at this stage makes your progress hard to see, which kills your motivation. It is no surprise so many people feel trapped. It is not your fault. But now that we have understood the problem, we can finally talk about the solution. If this is all making sense to you, if you are starting to see why you feel so stuck, please take a moment to hit that like button or leave a nice review. It truly helps the podcast. And we are about to move from the why to the how. I am going to give you a plan with 4 pillars. 4 strong pillars you can build to escape this trap for good. All right, it is time for the game plan. It is time for action. Escaping the intermediate plateau is not about one magic trick. There is no magic pill. It is about a fundamental shift, a big change in your entire approach to learning. It is about building a new system for your learning. This system is based on 4 crucial pillars. If you build these 4 pillars, progress is not just possible. It is inevitable. It will happen. Let's start with the first pillar. Pillar number 1 is the mindset shift. From frustration to purpose. Everything begins here, in your mind. Before you change what you do, you have to change how you think. First, you need to completely reframe the plateau. You need to see it in a new way. Stop seeing the plateau as a sign of failure. The plateau is a sign of success. Yes, success. It means you have successfully climbed high enough on the mountain to reach the truly challenging part. This is not a wall stopping you. This is the next level of the game. Be proud of how far you have come. You have already achieved so much. When you adopt this new perspective, the feeling of frustration can change. It can change into a feeling of an empowered challenge. You feel strong. You feel ready. Second, you need to reconnect with your why. Why are you really learning English? And an answer like, to get a better job is not enough. It is too general. It is too vague. You need a why that is specific and emotional. A why that you can feel in your heart. Is it to confidently lead a meeting at work and feel that your ideas are heard and respected? Is it to sit with your English-speaking friends and not just understand the jokes, but to tell a few of your own jokes to make them laugh? Is it to connect with your daughter's new husband and his family, to talk to them on a deep personal level? Visualize that specific situation. See it clearly in your mind. Feel the feelings. Then write it down. Write your why on a piece of paper. Put it on a sticky note on your computer or on your bathroom mirror. This powerful why is your fuel. It is the energy that will keep you going when you feel like quitting. Third, you have to change your relationship with mistakes. This is so important. From this day forward, a mistake is not a failure. A mistake is a data point. It is information. A mistake is your brain showing you exactly where you need to focus. It is a little sign that says, look here, this part needs more practice. When you make a mistake, do not feel shame. Instead, get curious. Become a detective. Say to yourself, that is interesting. I used the wrong word there. I wonder why. To do this, you have to create safe places to practice. Low-stakes environments where making a mistake costs you nothing. This could be talking to yourself in your room. Yes, talking to yourself is a great idea. It could be using an AI language partner on your phone, or finding a supportive speaking buddy who understands your journey. Finally, you need to stop making vague goals and start building a system. A goal like, I want to become fluent, is not a good goal. It is a dream. It is beautiful, but it is not measurable. You cannot see your progress, and this will only make you feel frustrated. Instead, focus on a system of specific daily actions. Your goal is not to be fluent. Your goal is to do 15 minutes of speaking practice every single day. You see the difference. You cannot control when you become fluent, but you can absolutely control if you do your 15 minutes today. Focus on the process, not the final result. Enjoy the small steps of the journey, and the results will take care of themselves. They will come naturally. That was pillar number 1, the mindset shift. Now for the second pillar. Pillar number 2 is the method shift, from passive consumption to active creation. If you only change one thing after listening to this episode, please let it be this. This is the most powerful change you can make. You have to radically shift your study time. Shift it away from passive listening and toward active speaking. Stop being just a consumer of English. Start being a creator of English. The most powerful way to do this is a technique I want to share with you. I call it the consume, summarize, express method. It is very simple, but it works like magic. First, you consume a small piece of content, maybe a 5-minute podcast clip, or a short YouTube video, or a news article. Make sure it is something you find interesting. This is important. As soon as you finish, put it away. Turn on the voice recorder app on your phone. Every phone has one. Now you will do 2 things. First, summarize what you just heard or read. Say it out loud, in your own words. This forces your brain to do something new. It forces it to switch from recognizing words to actively remembering and rephrasing ideas. This is the hard work. This is the good work. Then, after you summarize, you express your opinion on it. Did you agree with the idea? Did you disagree? Did it surprise you? What does it remind you of in your own life? This pushes you beyond just repeating facts. It pushes you into genuine, spontaneous expression. This is real communication. I promise you, it will feel awkward at first. You will hesitate. You will search for words. Your mind will go blank. That feeling, that uncomfortable feeling, that is the feeling of growth. That is the feeling of your brain building new connections. This is the work that breaks the plateau. Doing this for just 15 minutes a day is more valuable than 2 hours of passively listening to a podcast. I know it's ironic for me to say that on a podcast. Another key part of this method shift is to stop learning single words. From now on, you will learn vocabulary in chunks. Chunks are the natural combinations of words that native speakers use. They are groups of words that always go together. For example, do not just learn the word decision. Learn the whole chunk. To make a decision. Do not just learn the word effort. Learn the chunk. To make an effort. Do not just learn the word interested. Learn the chunk. I'm interested in. Learning in chunks is like having building blocks for your sentences. Prefabricated parts. It makes your speech much faster and much more natural. Because you are not building sentences word by agonizing word. You are assembling them from bigger parts that you know fit together perfectly. So that was pillar number 2, the method shift. Let's move to the third pillar. Pillar number 3 is the immersion shift. From studying English to living in English. To reach an advanced level, English cannot just be a subject you study for a few hours a week. It has to become a part of your life, part of the fabric of your daily life. This does not mean you have to move to an English-speaking country. You can create an immersion environment right where you are, in your home, in your city. The first strategy for this is what I call the 80% rule. When you choose something to listen to or read, choose content where you already understand about 80% of it. This sounds strange, right? Shouldn't you always challenge yourself with difficult material? Not always. When content is too difficult, your brain goes into survival mode. It is just struggling to understand the basic meaning. But when you understand about 80%, your brain can relax. It is not stressed. And it can start to absorb the small, subtle things. It can absorb the rhythm of the sentences, the melody of the speech, how words link together smoothly, the natural intonation. You are no longer just decoding a message. You are absorbing the music of the language. This is absolutely critical for making the jump from the B to the C1 level. The second strategy is to start an identity journal. This is a very powerful technique. It completely changes your internal relationship with English. Every day I want you to write just 3 sentences. That is all, 3 sentences. But not boring textbook sentences. Write about your life, your feelings, your day. I'm feeling frustrated today because my boss did not seem to like my work. I am so excited about my trip to the beach this weekend. This cup of coffee tastes amazing this morning. By doing this, you are making English the language of your inner world, the language of your own life. You are training your brain to think about your life directly in English, without translating. This is a huge step toward true fluency. Finally, for immersion, you can use the topic mastery strategy. Mastery means becoming an expert. Instead of trying to learn vocabulary for everything at once, which is overwhelming and impossible, pick one topic that is important or interesting to you. Maybe it is your job, or a hobby like gardening or photography, or a passion like climate change or ancient history, decide that you will become fluent in that specific topic. Read articles about it, listen to podcasts about it, watch documentaries about it. Make flashcards with the special vocabulary for that topic, and practice talking about it using our consume, summarize, express method. Once you feel truly confident discussing that one thing, pick a new topic and do it again. This approach builds deep, usable vocabulary in a structured way. It gives you islands of fluency. Little islands where you feel completely confident, and slowly those islands will grow and connect, and they will form a whole continent of fluency. And now for our final pillar. Pillar number 4 is the feedback shift. From guessing to knowing. You cannot fix a mistake you do not know you are making. This is a simple truth. The final pillar is about building a system for consistent, targeted feedback. This feedback will help you hunt down and eliminate your fossilized errors. Your first and best source of feedback is you, yourself. Remember the voice recorder from Pillar 2? Your homework is not done when you press the stop button. The next day, you need to listen back to what you recorded. It can be cringy. It can be uncomfortable to hear your own voice. I understand that feeling, but it is one of the most effective learning tools on the planet. As an intermediate learner, you know a lot of grammar. You know enough to spot many of your own errors. Hearing them yourself is much more powerful than someone else pointing them out. Second, you need feedback from outside, from other people. This could be a tutor, a teacher, or a language exchange partner. But you have to be strategic. You have to ask for feedback in a smart way. Do not just ask, "How is my English?" This is a useless question, and it will get you a useless answer, like, "It's good." Instead, ask for specific, targeted feedback. Give your partner a mission. You can say, "Today, could you please listen just for my use of prepositions?" Words like in, on, and at. Or you can say, "I am working on my past tense verbs. Could you please correct me every time I make a mistake with one?" This gives your partner a clear job to do, and it gives you actionable advice. Advice you can actually use to improve. Finally, use your writing as a feedback tool. Writing is an amazing way to slow down your brain and see the details of the language. When you write comments online or emails or in your identity journal, take 1 extra minute to review them. Read them one more time before you send them. You can use a tool like Grammarly to help you catch mistakes. But do not just blindly accept the changes. Try to understand why it was a mistake. This conscious analysis of your written errors will directly improve your spoken English because it helps you defossilize those bad habits. It helps you break the stone and replace it with the correct pattern. So there we have it. The intermediate plateau feels like an impossible wall, but it is not. It is a complex trap. It is built from the fear of mistakes. It is built from outdated learning habits, and it is built from a lack of clear feedback. But it is a trap that you now hold the key to. You have the key in your hand. That key is a big shift in your approach, a fundamental change. You have to move from a mindset of frustration to a mindset of purpose. You have to go from being a passive consumer to an active creator of English. You have to stop just studying English and start living in English. And you have to stop guessing about your mistakes and start getting clear, targeted feedback. The journey from intermediate to advanced is not a quick jump. It is a series of thousands of small, deliberate steps. It is choosing to speak when you feel the desire to stay quiet. It is embracing the discomfort of trying to explain a complex idea. It is recording your voice, even when you do not like the sound of it. But the good news is you now have the map. You have a plan. You have the 4 pillars you need to build your escape route. The plateau is not your destiny. It is not your final home. It is a signpost, a sign pointing you toward the deeper, more rewarding work that leads to real fluency. The path is now clear. It is time to start walking, one step at a time. Thank you so much for listening today, my dear friend. I hope this conversation was helpful for you. Remember, this is a journey. Be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. Every small step is progress. If you are ready to take the very first step on this new path, I have a question for you. Looking at the 4 pillars we talked about today, mindset, method, immersion, and feedback. Which one are you going to start building first? Which one feels most important for you right now? Please let me know in the comments section. I read every single comment, and I would love to hear your plan, your first step. If you enjoyed our time together, please consider leaving a like or a positive review. It helps our little podcast community grow. Thank you again for your time and your energy. Keep believing in yourself. You can do this. See you next time, my friend.